7 people are dead. 117,000 homes are still in the dark. And as of this morning, neither disaster is finished. The United States spent this past weekend fighting 2 completely separate water catastrophes at the exact same time, 4,000 hours apart from each other. And most people watching the news only heard about one of them. This video is going to give you the full picture of both. By the time you finish watching, you will understand exactly what happened, exactly why it was so dangerous, and exactly why the people in charge of keeping Americans safe are still not done. Because both of these events are still actively unfolding right now. On August 11th, 2026, severe storms swept across Indiana. What followed was not just a flood. It was a record-shattering, infrastructure-breaking deluge that redrew the map of what is possible in a Midwestern summer. The National Weather Service says some areas received more than 11 inches of rain in just a couple of days. The highest total came from Newcastle, Indiana, at 11.43 inches. Greensburg got more than 7 inches. Raw rainfall numbers are serious, but they do not tell the full story. The full story is what happens when that rain falls on already saturated ground. Indiana had seen repeated heavy storms in the days before August 11th. The soil was full. There was nowhere left for water to go. This is the most important physical fact. When ground is saturated, almost zero additional rain soaks in. 99 to 100% runs straight into rivers and streams. So those 11 inches did not behave like normal rain. They behaved like 11 inches of water poured directly into the river with nowhere else to go. The White River took every drop. Flooding hit hardest along the main stem of the White River from Hamilton County down into northern Indianapolis. Multiple river systems went under flood warnings at the same time. Drone footage shows floodwater swallowing entire streets in Indianapolis neighborhoods, submerging cars to their roofs and rising to front doors. Residents were forced to navigate their own flooded streets in kayaks and rowboats. That is not a flood. That is an inland sea appearing overnight inside a major American city. Then the White River did something never seen before. At the Anderson Gauge Station, the river crested on Friday at 24.93 feet. The old all-time record was 23.66 feet. That record had stood since 1913, 113 years. It had survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the moon landing, and every major flood that hit Indiana in that entire time. Friday's crest beat the 1913 record by 1.33 feet. Upstream at Noblesville, 15 miles north of Indianapolis, the river also broke its own 1913 record, reaching a forecast crest of 24.5 feet against the old 23.8. This is extraordinary because the 1913 flood was not a summer event. It was a spring flood caused by snowmelt plus heavy rain on frozen ground. It killed 100 to 200 people in Indiana alone, left more than 250,000 homeless, and became the second deadliest flood in U.S. history. It set the benchmark for over a century. The August 2026 flood beat that benchmark with rainfall alone. No snowpack, no frozen ground, no spring melt already sitting in the channel. August is supposed to be the season when rivers have the most capacity to absorb a shock. Warm ground, no snow. Every hydrological advantage was stacked against the 1913 record, yet a summer thunderstorm sequence just walked past it. The meteorology was not exotic. A frontal boundary stalled across the Midwest. Hot, humid Gulf air pushed north, while cooler air held south, parking the front. A high-pressure system over the Gulf acted like a moisture conveyor belt, pumping warm, water-loaded air straight into that stationary boundary. Every jet stream disturbance fired fresh thunderstorm cells along the front. Because the cells tracked perpendicular to the boundary, they crossed the same counties again and again. This is called training. Storm cells running down the same track like cars on a train, each one dumping its full load on exactly the same patch of ground the previous cell had already soaked. A single storm that crosses a county in 40 minutes is manageable. The same storm regenerating over the same county for 2 straight days creates catastrophe. The intensity of any single cell never had to be unusual. Only the geometry was wrong. The 1913 flood had the same failure mode, a stalled storm system. 113 years later, Indiana was hit by the exact same atmospheric mechanism. At least 7 people have died in Indiana flooding and storms as of the latest count. The number was 5 on Friday, 6 on Saturday, and 7 on Sunday. It is still a live figure. The victims include an 18-year-old Matthew Morey, an incoming freshman at Purdue University, who drowned with 3 friends on Wednesday in the Mississinaua River. His body was recovered 2 days later. A 4-year-old boy in Jennings County killed when a tree crashed through his roof in strong winds. A 58-year-old woman in Lake County, an 86-year-old woman in Porter County, a 32-year-old man in LaPorte County, a 31-year-old man in Henry County. 7 ordinary people in ordinary Indiana towns killed by water and wind nobody predicted would be this severe. The Indianapolis Fire Department alone pulled 95 people and 45 pets out of floodwaters by late Saturday afternoon. Responders ran rescues in Floyd County. A senior mobile home community in Tipton County was fully evacuated. National Guard soldiers worked with local first responders in Hamilton County. Hamilton County officials reported historic flooding. The Board of Commissioners president said on Sunday morning, "It is a good morning because it is not raining and the water is receding." That is the new definition of a good morning after a week like this. The governor declared a statewide disaster emergency and requested federal aid. President Trump approved an emergency declaration. FEMA confirmed assistance was available. But there is a critical difference. An emergency declaration frees up to $5 million for immediate response. A major disaster declaration unlocks full individual and public assistance for rebuilding. Those major assessments are still being completed as of Monday. Until the numbers come back, $5 million is all that is on the table. And $5 million against a flood that just broke a 113-year record is not enough. The flooding threat did not stay in Indiana. By Sunday night and into Monday, heavy rain spread east. Ohio communities were hit. Firefighters in Perry County made more than 50 water rescues. A woman was found stranded on her car in Thorne Township. The system moved into West Virginia and Kentucky. What started as an Indiana story became a regional crisis. Now 4,000 miles west, a completely different disaster. Hurricane Lala strengthened from a tropical storm into a Category 1 hurricane on Saturday, August 15, 2026, as it approached Hawaii's Big Island with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The National Hurricane Center called the conditions life-threatening before the closest approach. Lala never made official landfall. Its eye passed the southern tip of the Big Island without crossing the coastline. It officially grazed, not struck. Yet it still swept occupied homes completely off their foundations. Rain fell at rates of 3 to 5 inches per hour, not 3 to 5 inches total. One day, totals surpassed 2 feet in some places. The Big Island Mountains received more than 3.5 feet, more than 42 inches. Maui's mountains saw up to 2 feet. Forecasters raised the maximum storm total from 25 to 30 to 35 inches because the storm slowed. When a storm slows, rain piles in the same spot. The same physics that stalled the front over Indiana played out here. Hawaii County. Mayor Kimo Alama said several occupied homes were swept off foundations in the Nalehu and Wohoinu areas. He described a river of water washing away homes. Hawaii County Civil Defense launched a joint search and rescue using county resources, the Hawaii National Guard, and the U.S. Coast Guard. People had called 911, but flooding and boulders blocked roads. Search operations happened in the dark, in rushing water, with boulders on the roads. One person died in a storm-related vehicle crash. Over 100 homes were damaged or destroyed on Hawaii Island alone. 6 bridges were destroyed or nearly destroyed in the Kau area. Governor Josh Green called it utter devastation in the south. A section of Pahala Highway collapsed, cutting off access to a hospital and creating a new waterfall. Hawaiian Airlines canceled 52 flights. Around 190 total flights were canceled or delayed. All state offices, schools, courts, and judiciary offices closed Monday. The power situation is where island geography becomes impossible to ignore. By Saturday night, over 88,000 Hawaiian electric customers were without power. By Sunday morning, that climbed to over 178,000. By Monday morning, 117,000 customers remained in the dark across 3 islands, with 41,000 on Hawaii Island alone, mostly in Puna, Kona, Kohala, Hamakua, and Hilo. The utility warned some outages may last months, not days. Why months? Hawaii is not grid connected. There's no road from the mainland. Every repair crew, pole, transformer, and line must arrive by ship or plane. 100 mainland crews were expected by Tuesday to start work Wednesday. 2 major power producers, Puna Geothermal and Hamakua Energy, were disconnected. A 42-mile transmission line on the Hamakua coast required assessment after falling trees took down multiple poles. That is a backbone failure on an island with no backup system. The second-order effects compound fast. Water systems that rely on electric pumping are shut down. The Department of Water Supply issued an essential needs-only notice. Refrigeration for food and medicine, including insulin, is gone. Cell towers that carry 911 calls are down. Generators run out of fuel, and fuel arrives by ship. Every island faces this challenge. It is only unique in degree because in Hawaii, there is simply no road out. Governor Green estimated hundreds of millions in damage, and that number is already rising as helicopter and drone assessments continue on Hawaii Island and Oahu. Both disasters happened the same week, but have nothing to do with each other meteorologically. No shared storm system. One is a stalled frontal boundary, the other is a tropical cyclone. They are completely separate. Anyone saying otherwise is selling something. But they did their damage in exactly the same way. Both were water volume stories. Both broke through benchmarks and records local infrastructure was built around. In Indiana, for more than a century. The National Weather Service had upgraded the White River to major flood severity days before the crest arrived. Flood warnings were written to expire out to August 17th. The forecast was clear that the worst had not yet arrived. The National Hurricane Center used the words life-threatening before Lala's closest approach. Hawaiian Electric warned about possible extended outages. In both cases, the science worked, the warning was issued, and people still died. Homes were still destroyed, and 100,000 people are still sitting in the dark. The gap between an accurate forecast and a safe outcome is not a forecasting problem. It is an infrastructure problem. It is a flood map problem. It is a problem of where people are allowed to build. It is mobile home communities in floodplains with no evacuation margin. It is Category 1 ratings that measure sustained wind and tell you almost nothing about 5 inches of rain per hour on steep volcanic slopes. It is the Saffir-Simpson scale measuring the wrong thing. Category 1 is 74 to 95 miles per hour. That number told you almost nothing useful about the rainfall that actually killed people and destroyed houses in Hawaii. A 100-year flood does not mean it happens once per century. It means a 1% chance in any given year. 2 of them can happen in consecutive years without anything being statistically wrong, but the calculation assumes the past is a valid sample of the future. Every floodplain map, every levee height, every culvert diameter, every flood insurance rate map in Indiana sits downstream of that assumption. When a record that stood for 113 years falls to a mechanism that did not even set the original record, the assumption itself is being tested. So where do things stand right now, today, August 22nd, 2026? In Indiana, floodwaters along the White River are receding, but damage assessments are just beginning. The death toll stands at 7 confirmed and may still move. The joint preliminary damage assessments that could upgrade the emergency declaration to a major disaster declaration are underway. $5 million is the federal number on the table against a flood that broke a 113-year record. The threat has spread east. Ohio communities were hit Sunday night. The system is not done moving. In Hawaii, 117,000 customers remain without power. Crews repaired 3 major transmission lines on Sunday. 100 mainland crews are arriving Tuesday. Damage assessments continue. Over 100 homes damaged or destroyed. 6 bridges destroyed or near destroyed. The Pahala Highway collapse cuts off a hospital. All schools and government offices remain closed. The governor's damage estimate is hundreds of millions and will rise. Hawaii's last hurricane landfall was Iniki in 1992, 33 years and 11 months ago. Most Big Island residents have never lived through a hurricane. Preparedness decays across that gap, and Lala tested it without even coming ashore. Both disasters are still unfolding. Both recovery timelines are measured in weeks, not days. Both events broke through numbers that were supposed to hold. The levees of assumption, the flood maps, the historical records, the category scales, and what people read into them. And in both places, the people who live there are now waking up to a world where the old numbers do not apply anymore. The United States fought 2 simultaneous federal-scale disasters this weekend. 7 dead in Indiana, 1 dead in Hawaii, 100,000 still without power, dozens of homes gone, an 18-year-old who should have been starting college in weeks, a 4-year-old who never got to grow up, a grandfather assessing the waterline on his walls on his 37th birthday, a county commissioner for whom a good morning simply means it is not raining. Neither story is over. The water is going down in Indiana, and the power is slowly coming back on in Hawaii. But the reckoning is just beginning. Damage assessments, insurance fights, questions about flood maps and building codes, those conversations will take years. The infrastructure decisions that follow will take decades. The numbers that just got broken will either be written into new maps or ignored. And in 30, 50, or 70 years, someone will stand in front of a camera and tell you that another record just fell. A record that dated back to 2026, the year 2 disasters hit America at once. We will keep tracking this. The damage assessments, the recovery totals, the death toll if it moves, the power restoration timeline in Hawaii, the question of whether Indiana's emergency declaration gets upgraded, all of it. If you want more videos that dig deep into what really matters, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We are building this channel together to bring you the full picture every single time. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.